In today's video, we're going to be discussing the second part of Stepping Out in Business, which is our second series on the channel. We have two running dually here, so just try and keep up. And we're going to be discussing the things you should know before you start your medical billing business. So if you're interested in hearing those things, keep watching. So I am Tamika. I am a certified professional biller, a certified professional practice manager, and I'm also a business owner. So I decided to do this series. You've heard about it before. So we're going to jump into part 2 of the series. Part 1, we discussed your mindset, which I think was the first and most important thing that you should have put together when you decide that you want to be a billing business owner. So this is part 2, and we're going to be discussing the things that you should know before you start. Now, let's put this out there. When I started my billing business in 2020, a lot of these things I didn't have. And I also wish that I did have them, because I think it would have helped me, better. It would have helped me to maybe be a little bit further, just to have things more in order. And I like things to be organized and in place, and I can't believe I didn't have it. But if I had some of these questions answered, because they're basically going to be like questions I'm going to have you asking yourself so that you can just know how to deal with your billing business and what you need to, what is important to you in your billing business. So let me stop rambling and let's go to the first one. And the first one is going to be the one that you don't want to hear about, but it is what it is. And that is going to be your why behind the reason that you are starting this billing business. In most things that you do, most people will tell you that you need to have a why. And I used to get upset with that. It's like, here we go, this why again. Like, why do I need to know why? But knowing why is very important because it keeps you motivated. It is going to get hard. It is going to get frustrating. You might not know things. It's just going to get sometimes really difficult, and you might want to give up. But when you know your why, it helps you go along. It helps you stick in there, because now you have a force behind of it that will not let you quit, that will not let you give up. And it is very important to have that. So first, start off with your why. Why are you starting this billing business? Now, it can be whatever your reasoning is. And no one should be able to tell you that. That's not a question that somebody can answer for you. That's a question that you need to answer for yourself. And you need to really sit down and think about that. So when those things get hard, when times get hard, when you don't have any clients, when you overloaded with work, you still want to do it. Now, people tend to say when you're doing something that you love, that it's not a job. I don't believe that. I do believe that when you do something that you love, that it helps you stick in there probably when the job gets hard. But a job is still a job, work is still work, and it's going to be work when you're building your medical billing business. Now, let me put a little disclaimer in here. Most people would say that this is kind of like a business plan, or that it should be a part of a business plan. But like I said, being honest, when I started my billing business, I did not have a written business plan. Now, if you are trying to get funds and you need to get money, borrow money, stuff like that, then most likely you will need to have a written business plan. And I also think a written business plan is good because, again, a business plan helps you, it's like a guide to how you want your billing business to go. But again, I didn't have one, and it's not necessarily necessary, especially if you're not seeking funds or needing money. But again, it could be helpful if you decide you want to do this. This is questions. I'm trying to keep this realistic because a lot of times we know we need things, but we still don't want to do it. Doing a business plan will take you time, and I think it would be worth it. But a lot of us just don't want to do it. A lot of us haven't done it. But these questions can help you in deciding, what's going to go on in your business and all those things. So I just needed to throw that in there. The second one is going to be, who are you targeting? And that is in reference to whether it's going to be local doctors or nationwide. So for example, let's say where I live in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Who do I target? Am I targeting, doctors in the States, in, other countries, or locally here on the island? Now, of course, I did start off with doctors locally because, again, I've been billing for a while, so they knew me. And so that's how I kind of got that going. And if you didn't hear my story, I will link that above. But I went through how I actually got into becoming a business owner, or being a 1099 contractor, and then becoming a business owner. But finding out who you will be targeting can help you out a great deal. Also finding, like, are you going to be targeting healthcare providers, physicians, pharmacies, dentists, labs? Like, there are different places that you can bill, and it's not just a doctor's office. So if you have other experience, maybe in, let's say, in a dentist's office or in a pharmacy or, something like that, you might want to bill for them. So don't limit yourself to say, well, it's just a doctor's office. You might want to do a hospital or a ASC, an ambulatory service center, or facility. Like, there are many, many options. So don't limit yourself, but just try to get a target. Because I know a lot of times people like to say that, I'm targeting everybody. But most of the time when you target everybody, you get no one, because you're not speaking directly to anyone and they don't seem to be able to resonate with you. So they don't go with you. If you specifically say, I'm targeting maybe providers or physicians, then you're speaking to them, you speak their language, they know you're speaking to them. But if you're like, I just bill for everyone and I can do it for everybody, then, you might not get as much people as you want. So just try and figure out who you are targeting. That also brings me into number 3, which is knowing the specialty that you're targeting. Again, you don't have to do this, but I think it helps because, again, you are speaking to a specific person. Sometimes providers want to know that you have experience specifically in this specific specialty. Again, billing is billing, but specialties have different ways to bill. And if you know how to bill in those different specialties, it can help, give you an advantage. So if you are starting your billing business with experience because maybe you worked in a specific specialty or a specific area or a hospital or fertility or whatever, you can then target those types of specialties, and you have already had experience, so you can use that to your advantage. Number 4 is knowing the competition. Now, I don't want you to learn about your competition so that can then, make you not want to do it, or think that there's too many people in your area who's doing it, so you don't want to do it. Just knowing your competition is number 1, knowing who's out there, knowing what services that they provide. Maybe you can fill a gap that they are not, so maybe in that area, you just have a lot of billers who bill for healthcare providers. But pharmacies, they send their billing off to a offshore company or something. I'm just making something up here. But either way, you can say, well, okay, I can see that they're in need of a local billing company that does pharmacies billing or does dentistry billing. So you decide to do that. So just know your competition for that reason, not for it to discourage you or make you feel less than because maybe they have more clients than you do. I actually think you should introduce yourself and network with other billers in your area, or, even not in your area, because they can have clients and maybe even refer it to you. Maybe they don't want to deal with certain specialties, and they know that you also do billing, and you guys have been communicating, networking with each other, and they decide to pass that person on to you, refer them to you. So I think you should know who your competition is, talk to them, see where they're at, what services they provide, and that can help you as well. Then, of course, you want to know what services you will provide and what services you won't provide. A lot of times I notice when people start their billing business, they sometimes, especially if they start and they just got one client, they are so excited that they got a client that they do things that they probably didn't want to do. So if you already set out what services you're going to provide to different providers, when they ask you, well, do you do this? Do you do that? Can you do this? You can know what you do from what you don't do. If they ask me, do you set up my business license for me? No, I don't do that. I do credentialing for the different payers, Medicare, Cigna, Aetna, blah, blah, blah. So I know what I do instead of them kind of telling me what to do, because a provider will know what they want you to do. They will tell you what to do. They will give you jobs and duties that is not even a part of billing. So don't leave it up to them to tell you what you should be doing. You should know what services you provide and what services you don't want to provide. Then I think, which also falls into this, is that you should know the complete revenue cycle. Now, if you have been working, let's say you have been working for a hospital and you've only been doing payment posting, but you've seen other areas and your coworkers and you said, I'm going to go out on my own and have a billing business. Is your business only going to post payments? I think you should know the complete revenue cycle, know of it, what that entails, and then you can decide what services from that you want to provide. So don't just think that, maybe because you have just been doing payment posting, that's it. Or you've just been doing claim submission, that's it. You need to know the complete revenue cycle, even if you don't offer the complete revenue cycle, because when providers start to ask you questions, you need to know how to answer those questions. I know, and I'm bringing this up because for me, when I first started out in billing, I didn't know. I was doing everything. I was doing all the things, but I didn't know which pieces were billing, which were front desk, which were, accounting, so especially in small practices, sometimes you have a lot of duties. You have a lot of responsibilities, and if you don't know, you might not know which ones go to which positions. So just try and learn what the revenue cycle is, learn the different parts, and then from there you can decide what you want to provide or services you want to provide and the services that you don't want to provide. And while we're on providing services, one other thing you should also think about is, will you be providing the services directly, at least at the beginning, or will you be hiring someone to do it? Now, most of the time, and I guess I can say most of the time, but a lot of times us as billers who actually do the billing have, decided, okay, we've been doing billing for 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years. And we're going to open our own billing business. And then we are the ones who work in the business. We're the ones who do the actual billing for the different providers. But there are some people who have never done billing before and have decided that they're going to open their own billing business, but they're going to hire a biller, hire someone like us to do the billing. And that is all fine and dandy. If that's what you want, if you want to be a billing business owner and that's what you want, you can do that. I would recommend, though, that you at least learn as you go. Like, even though you've hired a biller, you need to learn what they do, because as the owner or, the person who runs the place, you need to know what the others in your business is doing. So you just don't want to just hire a biller and then say, well, they should know what they're doing, because then ultimately you're responsible since you're the owner. So you need to learn a little bit about it or a lot about it as time goes on. But you can actually hire someone else to actually do the billing. You don't actually have to be the one to do the billing. I know for myself, I enjoy doing billing so much that even saying that, I'm like, would I really want to do that? But as you evolve and as time goes on and more providers, you might end up having to do that, and you might not actually even be doing the actual billing. You will be overseeing people who do the billing. And number 6 or 7, I don't even know what number we're on. Whatever number we're on, you should decide what type of business you want to have. Now, I mean whether you want it to be big or small. Again, these questions that you're asking yourself can change at any time. It's just kind of like a guide for you to start off with, some type of direction, knowing where you're going. But do you want a big or small billing business? I know when I started my billing business, I was like, I don't want any employees. I don't want, because I am also an office manager. So I have, employees. I've been doing that for, wow, I think about since 2006 it was. And I've been, being an office manager for a while. So basically, being a business owner is going to be like that until I hire an office manager, and then I would still have to oversee the office manager. But I was saying to myself, I don't want to have any employees. I'm going to do it all myself. And that I'm actually doing the billing, but I know when I start to grow and expand, I will have to hire out. But that was the decision that I had to make. And that was a decision that I made and didn't let somebody else make for me, because I could have done that a long time ago. I could have, started to get on a lot of providers, and then I had to start hiring out and all of those things. But I knew I only had a certain amount of that it would only be me. I knew that it would only be me, and that I needed to do it. So I needed to be able to handle the providers or the clients that I brought on. So you need to decide, do you want a small billing business? Do I want a big billing business that's going to have multi-specialties, a lot of providers, so then I'll have to hire billers? That's something that you should also think about. And again, it could change. It doesn't have to stay the same. You also should think about the leads that you have. So when you're starting out, is it that you're just popping up, you're starting out there, you don't have anybody in mind? Or was it that maybe, you was working for someone and then they went out on their own and then they wanted to bring you on, and it was like, you need to open your billing business? A lot of times I hear stories, because I do remote one-on-ones. If you didn't hear about that, I do remote one-on-ones, and I help people with, their billing business, their billing journey, all of those things. So if you're interested in that, a little plug is in the description below. But I have a lot of people who have said, well, doctors have come up to me, providers have come up to me and asked me to do their billing for them, even though they know I've been, doing billing at a facility or whatever, but they like the way I do my billing. And that's a way that a lot of us have started out. So do you have any leads? Because that can help motivate you. If you have some leads, you have 1-2 doctors saying, you need to go out on your own so you could do my billing. That can help motivate you. And knowing that when you open your business, you already have a client, you already have 2 clients, that can really help. So knowing if you have any leads and being able to then go to those leads afterwards to hopefully sign them on to be your first clients is a question that you should ask yourself. Or are you just doing it because you don't have to have a client? You could be just saying, I want to start, and you go out there and start looking for them. So if you don't have clients, then I have to do more marketing. I need to give myself this certain amount of time, and I'm trying to get this amount of clients. And you kind of go at it in a different way. But if you have leads, that can also be helpful. How much time do you have to put into billing? That kind of falls back on what I was talking about when it came to if you want it to be big or small. So you need to know how much time you have to put into it. Now, if you're working a 9 to 5 like I do, you have a limited amount of time. So for you to take on, let's say a huge hospital or something, maybe you will then know that, okay, I'm going to take on this hospital. I'm going to take on only this hospital until I start to pick up, and then I'm going to quit my job. Like, you should probably have some type of plan for what you're going to do. Or you decide, well, I'm not going to take on any big clients. I'm going to take on smaller clients, maybe clients, non-surgical practices, something that where it won't take up a lot of time that I don't have because I'm working from, 8 to 4, and I can only do this from 5 to 10. So you need to write these things down, just kind of have an idea, think about these things, because that will help you determine who you're going to target, who you're going to try and market to, all of those things. So deciding your time, and that's important because you want to make sure that you are doing your job to the best of your ability. So if you don't have enough time and then you start to mess up and, miss out on denials and rejections and don't follow up on claims because now you don't have enough time and you're tired and you're at work, like, you don't want to do that. So figure that out in advance before you start bringing in clients, bringing in people, because they don't want to hear that I have another job, or they don't want to hear that, oh, sorry, yeah, I have 3 more clients, and so when I took you on as the 4th client, I shouldn't have. They don't want to hear that. So you want to figure out if that's, how much time you have and what you can do within that time. And last, but definitely not least, and if you have any of your own questions that you maybe have asked yourself or that you're in the process of asking yourself, leave them below. But find out the specifics. So, such as, let's say, maybe software. Do you plan to buy software or use the provider's software? What are your policies going to be? Something simple as policies, and I shouldn't even say simple because it's not simple. It's stuff that you should sit down and actually think about. Like, maybe one of your policies is that I am going to do quarterly Zoom meetings with each client. We're going to discuss, reports and even though you might not have any clients at the time, this is important because when you do get the clients, you will have a guide to follow. If you don't have this guide, for the most part, you're not going to follow anything. You're probably going to be doing things randomly. You might just call, one provider once when you first started working with them, and then you never call them again. But you need to set policies for yourself. Remember, when you start a business, you as the biller, let's say if you are the person who is the actual biller, you have a skill of billing. You know how to bill, and that's your skill. But remember, when you become a business, now you need to have the skill of being a business owner, and you have to think like a business owner. So you need to set policies the same way your job has policies and rules and SOPs and all of those things. You need to have those as well, so you can have structure and organization in your business, because that's going to bring your success, and you'll go a far way with organization. So just have some of these answers to these questions in place. Again, if you have your own set of questions or you have a couple more that you will want to share with us, please do that below. And I will see you again in my next video.